Hello, my friend. Welcome to Whisper Before Sleep Stories. I'm David, your storyteller, sharing timeless tales from ancient legends and medieval myths to modern-day stories full of feeling. Here, you'll be wrapped in a soothing voice, relaxing sounds, and a calming space that helps you release tension, quiet your mind, and fall into a deep, restful sleep. I hope each story brings you a sense of peace, connection, and a touch of magic for your soul before you close the day. I hope each story brings you a sense of peace, connection, and a touch of magic for your soul before you close the day. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And if you can, post your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where and when you're listening from. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on a fan for some soothing noise, and let's go on a journey together tonight, or some meditation to help the audience relax their minds. You start your walk just after the rain has thinned into a soft drizzle. Amsterdam feels like it has folded itself into a smaller, cozier version of the city you know from postcards. The air is cool enough that your breath hangs for a moment before fading into the mist. The cobblestones beneath your shoes are slick, but they give back the glow of the street lamps in broken golden fragments, as if the stones themselves had memorized every sunset they've seen. The canals are quiet now. Boats sway gently in the water, their ropes creaking softly against wooden posts. From somewhere far down the street, you hear the distant whir of a bicycle chain, followed by the rhythmic hum of tires moving through puddles. You're not hurrying. There's no need. Here, the world moves at the speed of your footsteps, and even that feels a little too fast. Each bridge you pass arches like a careful thought, nothing showy, nothing meant to impress, just practical beauty. You lean on a railing, looking down at the water, and see how the surface has turned into a slow-moving mirror, only slightly disturbed by the rain. In the ripples, the lamps bend into wavering lines like molten threads. You notice the way the reflections seem deeper than the actual lights, as if the real city might be hiding under the water, just beyond reach. You keep walking, and the air changes with each street. Near one canal, the smell is earthy, thick with the scent of wet brick and moss. Near another, you catch the faint aroma of baking bread, escaping from a small, unmarked bakery tucked behind a narrow doorway. You could swear you've passed this way before, but the mist plays tricks, softening edges, stretching distances, making familiar places feel like new corners of an old dream. At one crossing, you pause under a gas lamp. The rain collects at the edge of your hood and slides off in slow drops. It's then you think about the layers of time beneath your feet. This street has been walked for centuries. Merchants hauling goods from ships, families rushing home before the storms rolled in, artists who found the mist to be the perfect backdrop for their paintings. Some of those faces are now nameless in history, but their steps still seem to echo faintly in the air, as if the cobblestones remember. You recall reading somewhere that in the 17th century, during the Dutch Golden Age, rain was not simply weather, it was a companion to the city's rhythms. Sailors relied on it for fresh water, shopkeepers cursed it for slowing foot traffic, and painters loved the way it gave the canals a softened glow. There's a story unverified, but quietly passed around that Rembrandt himself would wait for evenings like this to sketch the outlines of bridges by lantern light. A small boat drifts by, empty, except for a single folded coat on its bench. It moves as if guided by an invisible hand, too slow to be in a hurry, too straight to be drifting at random. You watch it disappear under the next bridge, wondering if its owner stepped away or if it belongs to no one anymore. No one seems concerned. This is the kind of city where small mysteries just fold into the background, like extra notes in a song you didn't expect but can't stop hearing. Your fingers brush the railing as you move on, the iron cold and damp. The bridges here are not just crossings. They are pauses, vantage points, places to stand and feel suspended between two pieces of the city. Standing there, you notice the rain has almost stopped. A fine mist remains, curling along the water and threading itself through the arches. It's the kind of weather that could make you believe in ghost stories. Not the frightening kind, but the gentle ones where the spirits don't haunt. They simply walk beside you, unbothered, keeping you company in the quiet. You turn down a narrower street where the light falls in thin, vertical bands from high windows. A cat slips across your path, shaking rain from its fur before disappearing into a doorway without looking back. Somewhere above you, a shutter creaks open and then closed again. The city breathes. The night continues. Ahead, the faint outline of another bridge takes shape in the mist. You don't need to know its name to feel its history. You simply keep walking toward it, one step at a time, letting the glow of its lamps draw you closer, and the water beneath it whisper its slow, endless song. You step onto the next bridge without really thinking about it. Your feet find the rhythm of the stones, and your body follows. This one is wider, its railings worn smooth from centuries of leaning elbows and curious gazes. The drizzle has stopped completely now, but the air still carries that gentle weight of moisture, like the city hasn't quite finished with the rain. From this height, the canal stretches in both directions like a silk ribbon laid through the heart of Amsterdam. The lights along its edges glow in even intervals, the reflections pooling and stretching, broken only by the occasional ripple of passing waterfowl. It's not just beautiful, it's quietly exact, the way this city has always been. Precise, but never rigid. Soft, but never careless. You imagine this view 300 years ago, in the middle of the Dutch Golden Age. It's evening, and merchant ships from all over the world line the water, their hulls heavy with spices from the East Indies, silks from China, furs from Russia. Men in heavy coats negotiate under lantern light, their voices low but firm, as dockhands carry crates up narrow gangplanks. There's the smell of tar, salt water, and exotic goods that most Amsterdammers will never taste. You stand in your own century, but the echoes are strong enough to make you feel like you're watching from both sides of time at once. And here's the thing: Amsterdam's merchants didn't just move goods. They moved stories. In the private corners of candlelit taverns, sailors told tales of distant lands, some true, some shaped by the fog of memory or the warmth of ale. One such story claims there is a bell hidden beneath one of the bridges, a bronze bell, cast in 1622, engraved with a single Dutch word meaning return. The legend says it only rings on nights when the mist is thick and the moon is just a sliver, warning sailors of storms before they can be seen. No one's ever proven it exists. There's no record in city archives, no mention in the meticulous ledgers kept by the guilds. But a few locals swear they've heard it in underwater toll so faint, you could mistake it for the hum of your own heartbeat. Researchers still wonder if such a sound could be caused by wind, water currents, or some peculiar resonance in the metalwork of the old bridges. Yet no one has been able to recreate it. You lean on the railing, glancing down as if the water might reveal the bell's shadow. Instead, you see the slow drift of leaves, some flattened against the current, some turning lazily as they pass beneath you. The water is shallow here, but it hides its secrets well. A bicycle bell chimes softly behind you, and you step aside for a rider wearing a raincoat the color of faded parchment. They pass without a word, their heads slightly bowed as if guarding some small thought from the night air. You watch them disappear into the fog until they are nothing more than a suggestion. The stones of the bridge hold a faint warmth from the day's sun, though the air is cool. You run your hand along the curve of the railing and feel the grooves left by decades of repairs. This is a city that knows how to keep what matters standing. It doesn't erase the past, it builds around it, lets it breathe. Across the water, the outline of a shipbuilder's warehouse looms, its high windows glowing faintly. You think of the craftsmen who worked here long before your time men, who could turn raw timber into something that could cross oceans. Many of them never left Amsterdam themselves, yet their work carried pieces of this city into every corner of the known world. A thought drifts into your mind. Perhaps the rain has always been a kind of blessing here. For sailors, it meant fresh water in their barrels. For painters, it turned the streets into reflective canvases. For the merchants, it gave the city a certain slowness, an enforced pause in which to think, to plan, to tell stories. You feel it now, that unhurried rhythm that wraps around you like a heavy, warm blanket. A heron lifts from the bank, its long wings brushing the mist before vanishing into the night. The water settles behind it with the sound of soft applause. You smile without meaning to. Moments like this feel like they belong only to you, though you know countless others have stood here, in every century, under every kind of weather. The wind shifts, carrying the faint scent of cloves, maybe from a bakery, maybe from some long-closed crate in a warehouse, disturbed by the settling of old wood. You follow it, stepping off the bridge and onto the next curve of the street. The city narrows again, the buildings on either side leaning just slightly inward, as if to whisper to each other across the cobblestones. Your footsteps sound different here, muffled by the closeness of the walls and the soft dampness still clinging to the ground. Somewhere ahead, another bridge waits, smaller, quieter, and holding a different kind of history. You move toward it without hurry, the air cooling further, the mist drawing tighter around the lamps, as if guiding you to the next piece of the story. The next bridge appears almost shyly, half concealed by the mist, until you're nearly upon it. It's smaller than the others, its wooden planks darkened from years of rain and sun, the edges softened by time. You notice at once that it leans not enough to seem unsafe, just enough to make you tilt your head, like you're looking at a picture frame that isn't quite straight. You step onto it slowly. The wood beneath you creaks in a gentle, familiar way, as though it's relieved to have company. The railing here is lower, close enough that if you lean too far, you could touch the water with your fingertips. It's here that a quieter, stranger story begins to take shape in your mind. One you once heard in a tucked-away bookshop on Spiestraat, told by the owner in the same hushed tone you're walking in now. It was about a painter, not a famous one, not in the way of Rembrandt or Vermeer, just a man whose name rarely made it into the guild records. He painted for the love of light and for the way mist could blur the line between one thing and another. They say his final work was never finished, at least not in the way most paintings are. He'd set up his easel right here on this bridge during a stormy October afternoon, determined to capture the exact way rain shimmered on the canal. But as the sky darkened, a sudden gust of wind caught the canvas. It tipped forward, slipped from the easel, and before the painter could grab it, fell into the water. Some stories end there, but not this one. According to the legend, the painter jumped in after it. He didn't care about the cold, didn't care about the danger. He just wanted to save that moment he'd been trying to trap in color and oil. People on the nearby bank saw him go under the bridge, but they never saw him come out. When they searched, they found neither the man nor the painting. For years after, locals claimed to see him here on misty nights, sometimes standing at the railing, dripping wet, looking down at the water as if waiting for his work to rise back to the surface. Other times, they said, he walked the length of the bridge, vanishing before he reached the other side. Researchers still wonder if the story might be rooted in some real disappearance, an accident, or perhaps a robbery gone wrong, but the records are too thin, too scattered to confirm. It's one of those open-ended mysteries that the city seems content to keep that way, like a pocket watch left unwound so the hands never move. You stand at the center of the bridge now, imagining the painter's easel, the way the rain might have blurred his vision until all that remained was light and movement. You picture the painting half complete, settling into the silt below, its colors still somehow bright in the darkness. Maybe it's still there. Maybe it's nothing more than a story people tell when the night feels too quiet. You stand at the center of the bridge now, imagining the painter's easel, the way the rain might have blurred his vision until all that remained was light and movement. You picture the painting half complete, settling into the silt below, its colors still somehow bright in the darkness. Maybe it's still there. Maybe it's nothing more than a story people tell when the night feels too quiet. You can't tell where it's coming from, and maybe that's for the best. Music like that should belong to the night itself, not to any one person. The bridge sways gently as you shift your weight, a reminder that you are part of this moment, part of the same story in which all the others have played their roles. You wonder if someone saw you here now, through the mist. Would they remember you as part of this place? Or would you too become just another shadow passing across an old bridge on a rainy night? You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the scent of wet wood and canal water. The cool air carries a strange calm with it, the kind that makes you feel as if time has loosened its grip, just enough for you to step sideways out of it. When you leave the bridge, you don't look back. Not because you don't want to, but because some places are better left in your peripheral vision, where they can keep their mystery intact. The street ahead bends slightly to the right, guiding you toward a part of the city that feels older still. The kind of neighborhood where history isn't just remembered, it's lived in, quietly, every day. And somewhere in the shadows behind you, the wooden bridge creaks once, as if settling back into its own long, patient watch. The rain starts again as you turn into the Jordan district, not in heavy drops, but in a fine silver thread that drifts in the lamplight. The streets here are narrower, and the buildings lean forward as if trying to shelter you from the weather. Their windows glow in soft amber tones, and behind the glass, you see the faint movement of people settling in for the night. The cobblestones are uneven in this part of the city. Your steps slow without you deciding to slow them, and you begin to notice details you might have missed otherwise. A tiny brass doorbell on a building no wider than a train carriage. A bicycle leaning against a wall, with the seat still wet from the last downpour. A cat curled up on the inside ledge of a bakery window, its eyes opening just enough to acknowledge you before closing again. You pause under the shallow awning of an old bookshop. The window is fogged over, but you can just make out the shapes of tall shelves and the outlines of books stacked in improbable towers. The smell of rain on old brick mixes with the faint scent of paper and glue drifting out whenever the door opens. This street feels untouched by time, and the rain makes it softer still. There is a story tied to this neighborhood about a chest found in the attic of a house not far from here. It was discovered during renovations in the 1970s, hidden beneath a false floorboard. The chest was heavy and locked, but when it was finally opened, the contents were unexpected. Inside were bundles of sheet music written in a careful hand, along with letters signed only with the initials. LV. The handwriting was delicate, and the ink had faded to a soft brown. Historians have tried to trace the identity of LV. Some believe the letters were written by a revolutionary from the late 18th century who lived here in hiding. Others think they belong to a musician who vanished from public records after a single performance at a small Amsterdam theater. To this day, no one knows for certain. The music has been played only a handful of times since its discovery, and those who have heard it describe it as both joyful and melancholy, as if the composer was standing at the edge of leaving something behind. You imagine the attic where the chest rested for so many years, dust settling over it like snow, the sound of rain on the roof above it, the smell of wood slowly aging in the dark. Perhaps someone in the house knew it was there and chose not to disturb it. Or perhaps the chest waited patiently to be found until the city was ready for its secrets to be lifted into the light. The rain grows steadier as you move deeper into the Jordan. A musician stands under a small stone archway, playing a violin so softly that you can only hear it when you're close enough to see the bow moving. The notes seem to weave into the sound of the rain so that you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. You drop a coin into the case at his feet, and he nods without looking up, still lost in the song. You pass houses with shutters painted in deep greens and blues, their doors polished to a quiet shine. The gutters overflow in places, sending little rivers along the edges of the street. You step over one and watch the water carry a single yellow leaf toward the canal. The city feels more alive in the rain, not less. The reflections in the puddles stretch and bend with each passing drop. At the end of the street, another bridge waits. It is not grand, and it does not try to be. Its beauty is in the way it simply exists, holding together the two sides of this neighborhood as it has for generations. You place your hand on its cool railing and feel the faint vibration of footsteps from someone crossing on the other side. The rain has soaked into your coat by now, but you hardly notice. This is the kind of night when the world outside your small circle of vision fades completely. The lamps glow like warm stars, and the rest of the city drifts into shadow. Somewhere far off a church bell chimes the hour. The sound is soft, but it lingers in the air, as if it knows the streets here prefer to keep hold of things just a little longer. The rain follows you all the way to the Mager Brug. You see it first as a pale outline in the mist, its thin white frame lit by rows of small golden lamps. The water beneath It is almost black, reflecting the bridge in a way that makes it look like a double image, one above and one below. You step onto the wooden boards, and they respond with the soft sound of age. The air here is still except for the patter of rain on the river. Each drop makes a brief bright circle before fading back into the dark surface. You walk slowly, feeling the bridge shift ever so slightly under your weight. There is an old story about this bridge. People say it was named the Skinny Bridge because it was first built by two sisters who lived on opposite sides of the river. They were wealthy, but they valued each other's company more than any coin. The city at the time did not see the need for another bridge, so the sisters funded the construction themselves, making it narrow to save on cost. Every day they would meet in the middle, sharing news and tea, and sometimes nothing more than the comfort of standing together, watching the boats pass. When the sisters died, the bridge was rebuilt, but it kept its slender design as if in quiet memory of their bond. Some say that on certain rainy nights, you can see two figures meeting at the center, holding umbrellas, though no one else is around. Others believe that lovers who kiss under the middle arch will have a bond as lasting as the sisters' devotion. You stop halfway across and rest your hands on the railing. The lights from the banks stretch out in trembling paths across the water. A boat glides silently beneath you, its wake breaking the reflections into scattered shards of gold. You feel the bridge breathe with the current, the wood rising and falling almost imperceptibly. The city around you seems to fade. The lamps become stars, the water becomes sky, and the rain becomes a soft curtain between you and everything beyond this moment. Your thoughts drift as easily as the boats passing below. You imagine the sisters standing here smiling at each other, as if the rest of the world did not exist. You imagine the painter from before quietly watching from a nearby bridge brush in hand. You imagine the unopened chest resting in its attic, the music still waiting for the right hands to bring it back to life. The wind off the river is cool but gentle, the kind of breeze that carries away the day's weight without asking for anything in return. You close your eyes for a moment, and the sounds arrange themselves into a lullaby. The water lapping against the pilings, the distant hum of a tram, the steady rhythm of rain on wood. You take one last step forward until you are at the far end of the bridge. Behind you, the lamps burn steadily in the mist, holding their places in the quiet. Ahead of you, the street bends out of sight, its cobblestones glistening like a path of small lanterns. Your pace slows to almost nothing now. Each step feels like it could be the last before you stop completely. The rain is softer, and the world has blurred at the edges. You carry the feeling of the bridges with you, the weight of history, the threads of forgotten stories, the unbroken calm of water at night. Soon you will leave this street, and the lamps will be behind you, but the sound of the rain will follow, and the glow of their reflections will stay in your mind. You will carry them into sleep, and they will wait for you there, like the city waits for its next rainy night.